Hey, welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. And today we're talking about something huge, self-discipline. But, not in that boring eat your vegetables kind of way. We're talking about it as the one thing that actually shapes your destiny.
Okay, so let's jump right in with this killer idea from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. He basically boiled down a good life to just two words. That's it, two words: persist and resist. And these two little words, well, they're the foundation for everything we're going to talk about.
This idea leads us to this incredible foundational story. It was actually almost put on the seal of the United States. That's how important it was. It's the story of Hercules at the crossroads. Now, picture this. Before he was, Hercules, the legend, he was just a kid, and he's standing at a fork in the road with no idea which way to turn.
So this is the choice he's staring down. And really, it's a choice we all face, right? On one side, you've got a goddess offering him the easy life. I mean, total pleasure, every single desire met, no pain, no struggle. Sounds pretty good, huh? But then, on the other path, a different goddess appears, and she's offering, well, pretty much the opposite: a life of challenge, a ton of effort, and a whole lot of sacrifice. But, and this is the key, that was the path that would make him who he was destined to be.
And here's the thing. This isn't just some old, dusty myth. It's our story. Every single day, you and I were standing at that same crossroads. We're constantly making that choice. Do I take the easy path, or do I take the right one?
Okay, so let's get into our first section, mastering the body. This whole journey of discipline, it really starts in the most obvious, the most tangible place, with our own bodies. Because look, before you can even think about conquering the world or even getting a handle on your own thoughts, you have to get command of your physical self first.
And a perfect example of this? You gotta look at Lou Gehrig. This guy wasn't just a phenomenal baseball player. He was like a living monument to consistency. He was the guy who showed up, period. Didn't matter if he was in pain, under pressure, or totally exhausted. I mean, they didn't call him the Iron Horse for nothing.
Just look at this number, 2,130. That's how many games he played in a row. We're talking through broken fingers, sickness, bone-deep fatigue. He was there. That incredible streak, that wasn't just about talent, no way. That was about pure, raw, gritty discipline. The will to just persist. Now, it's really interesting when you compare him to his famous teammate, Babe Ruth. I mean, talk about a contrast. Gehrig built his entire career on just relentless hard work. Ruth, he had this massive, God-given talent, but he lived a life of total excess. And it's fascinating because Ruth himself admitted it later. He talked about his mistakes, and it just makes you wonder, right? How much more greatness could Babe Ruth have achieved if he'd had just a little of Gehrig's discipline?
So this all leads to this key idea: temperance. And look, this isn't about being boring or depriving yourself of everything fun. Not at all. It's really about self-mastery. It's about being the boss of your own body. So your body isn't the boss of you. It's about demanding the best from yourself because you're aiming for something way bigger and better than just a fleeting moment of pleasure.
Okay, but mastering the body, that's really just round one. The next level, the deeper and honestly much harder battle, that one is fought inside your own head. It's what the Stoics beautifully called our inner citadel.
And when you think about mental discipline, who's a better example than Queen Elizabeth II? I mean, seriously. Her entire incredibly long reign was just a masterclass in keeping it together. Total composure, a deep sense of duty, and just this unwavering emotional control, even when the pressure was insane.
Check out this number, roughly 25,000 days on the job. Let that sink in. For 25,000 days in a row, she did her duty. And remember, she wasn't some all-powerful ruler. She was a figurehead. Her job was basically to reign without actually ruling, which, if you think about it, requires an almost superhuman level of restraint. And her real strength wasn't just about the things she did. It was about the things she didn't do. She didn't flinch when someone fired shots at her during a parade. She didn't panic when a literal intruder broke into her bedroom. She didn't get angry and lash out at protesters or the media. Her power, her real power, was her power over her own reactions. The ancient philosophers had this perfect metaphor for this. They talked about a charioteer, Imagine your emotions, your anger, your desires, your fears. They're like these incredibly powerful wild horses, and they can go fast. But if you don't have a firm grip on the reins, all that speed just leads you straight into a crash, especially when life's road that's curvy.
So this really brings up a super important question for all of us, for you. Are you holding the reins? Are you actually in control of your emotions, your focus, your passions, or are those wild horses just dragging you wherever they feel like going?
All right, so we've talked about mastering the body and governing the mind. After all that work, what's the payoff? What's the reward? Why bother with all this effort? Well, it's not about getting rich or famous, though maybe that happens. The real prize is something so much more valuable.
And this leads us to a kind of paradox, one that a guy like Dwight Eisenhower, both a general and a president, understood perfectly. We tend to think freedom is about being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. But that's not it. Real freedom, true freedom, is the opportunity, the power to have control over yourself.
And that right there is the ultimate point of this whole journey. It's what the philosopher Seneca was talking about. He said true power has nothing to do with conquering cities or ruling over other people. No, the most powerful person in the entire world is the one who has mastered themselves.
So we end up right back where we started, standing at that crossroads, that choice between the easy life and the meaningful one. It's not something you make just once. You make it every single day, in a million tiny little decisions. And what this all shows us is that our discipline, or our lack of it, that really, truly is our destiny. So the only question left is, which path are you going to choose?